Welcome to the amazing land of Oz, where you can copy your own animations using Microsoft's Connect and import them to an FPSC character, as was revealed in an earlier tutorial. However, this time I will pull back the curtain and show how you can copy all of the animations of one character to another. I already have shown you the ability to copy one animation, the sitting animation, from the TF341 character to the Thug character. However, what about copying all of the animations? We will use the TF341 and the Thug characters once again for this example. Of course, you will have had to purchase the TF341 model pack to do it yourself. Before we begin, I'd like to suggest creating a folder called Animer Working Folder. You can put this folder anywhere you like. I happen to have it on my desktop. Place the files you'll be working with inside this folder. You will find that this will save some time as it will be the default folder once a character is loaded from it. So let's open up the Animer Working folder. You will see that I have the Thug DirectX file with the texture, have the TF341 DirectX file with its texture, and I would like to see what the TF341 character's weapon would look like on the Thug, so I included a TF341 weapon, the VWEP. You could have renamed this anytime you want, or anything you'd like, and then if you want to see the texture of this weapon, then you need to include the texture for the weapon. When we want to import animations from another character, we need to run it through Mender first to make sure it's 100% compatible with FPSC. As long as the DirectX file uses Microsoft's DirectX standard or very close to it, the success rate of it making it through Mender will be quite high. If Mender doesn't work, then try loading it and saving it in Microsoft's free app, MView. If that doesn't work, then more than likely you won't be able to use that character to import animations. So load up the TF341 DirectX file into Mender and then save it with a different file name so that you know it is a repaired file. I keep it simple and will just add _repaired to the original file name. You need to keep the same extension, of course. So let's click on File, open a file, and we would want to open up the TF341 character. It is loading now, and of course it loads pretty quickly in Mender. Then we want to save it. This goes through all the animations to check to see if they're okay, and if they're not, then they will automatically, without you even knowing, be repaired so that they will then be able to be loaded into Animer. So save it. We'll use the same name, except we will add the _repaired. A pop-up window shows up and it wants to know what frames we want to save. Well, we want to save all of the animated frames, so we'll just click OK. We will go ahead and wait until this is finished. It will you'll see how quickly this goes in comparison to when it's reading the TF341 characters animations at other times. And that's Bond 1's little dance routine, and of course it writes to the file very quickly. The first thing that needs to be done is position the Thug in the same position as the TF341 character. When you import animations, both characters should have the same pose. They should look the same. Therefore, you need to rotate limbs of the character until they look the same as the limbs of the imported model. You can do this taking into account only the appearance of the character. but sometimes you may want to do it more precisely. In order to do that, you can look at the values on the status bar of the thug character and change the value until it matches the value of the TF341 character. The values on the status bar for the character and the model to import do not have to be exactly the same, and more than likely they will never be exactly the same. It is enough that they are as close as you can make them without going crazy trying to do it. It can be frustrating because the y and z coordinates are attached and therefore will change when you change one or the other value. Once you set the pose for the character, you can't export it. However, you can save it to a .amr file. This is because if you export and load the character, you will lose the values which you have entered in the XYZ fields. They will be 0. However, when saved in the AMR file format, they will remain intact. And here is an FYI for your information. The AMR file extension happens to be used by the application Real Player. If you have this installed, or if you install it later, then the extension will automatically be associated with the Real Player. That will not cause any problems, but the AMR file obviously cannot be opened using Real Player. This file is an adaptive multi-rate codec file developed by Ericsson and used by many 3G cell phones. A file with that extension will always be considered an audio file by Windows and for other applications other than Real Player. I will not demonstrate this method as it takes a lot of trial and error. It has already been done for us. The file is saved in the AMR format without animations. We don't want the thug to have any animations of its own. We want only the TF341 animations for the thug. There is one more thing that must be done before we import the TF341 animations. We need to add a new firespot to the thug. What is a firespot? A firespot is a limb that doesn't have any animations. What is a firespot used for? It is used to glue the weapon to a non-player character if the character in fact has a weapon. The thug character happens to be left-handed, and therefore the firespot is on his left hand. However, the TF341 characters are right-handed, and we need to add a firespot to the thug's right hand and rename the old firespot. If the TF341 character happened to be left-handed, we still would probably need to reposition the firespot. And if there are any parent limbs that are needed, we would need to add those as well. The TF341 has one parent limb to the firespot that the thug does not have. Before I talk you through adding a firespot, I would actually like to take this time to talk about a character's limbs. The FPSC character is constructed from limbs, also known as bones. There are different kinds of limbs. Some limbs have a model's mesh, and others don't. Most of the FPSC characters have one limb with a character's mesh. This mesh is covered with a texture. The other limbs are needed to move the mesh. Each of these limbs have an effect on certain mesh vertices. If you rotate or move a limb, the corresponding mesh vertices are rotated or moved. In this way, we can create animations of the character. The limbs have parents and children. If you rotate a limb that has children, all the limbs that are the children also are rotated. You will see here the limb hierarchy of the thug and the limbs hierarchy of the TF341 character. As you notice, the firespot is attached to the right hand of the TF341 character. It also is attached to a parent limb of prop 1. So prop 1 is actually the child of the hand, right hand, and the firespot is actually the child of the prop 1. And here we have the thug's left hand, and the fire spot is a child of the left hand. So what we will need to do is rename this fire spot, add a BIP Prop 1 limb to the right hand, and we do that by actually adding a fire spot and then renaming it to BIP 01 underscore Prop 1, and then to that we will add the fire spot. Let's turn our attention to the TF341 character loaded in Animer. We need to get the rotation and position values for two limbs. One is a parent limb to the fire spot. Go to the Select Limb drop-down list and click on the list box. Navigate to the limb named BIP 01 underscore Prop 1. After clicking on it, we see that this is the parent to the fire spot. Make sure that the cursor is an arrow in the ports to the right. As you can see, that's what we have right now. If not, we then you need to click on the arrow icon, which is right here. Look in the status bar where I'm now pointing. You should see the values of the XYZ coordinates for this limb. Write these values down somewhere. Since I have Windows 7, I use the sticky notes. As you can see here, this is BIP 1 underscore Prop 1. These are the values for rotation, X, Y, and Z, and then these are the position X, Y, and Z values. To get the position X, Y, Z value, we need to click on the double arrow that forms a cross. You will then see the values for the limb position. Write these values down. We now need to get the same values for the fire spot, so select the limb named fire spot. You currently have the limb position values displayed. Make a note of the coordinate values and then select the limb rotation so that you can make a note of these values. And to get the limb rotations, we again click on the single arrow key. As you can see, I have already written these values down, and you can use them if you like. If you want to practice this procedure, then pause the video now and come back when you have the values written down. But of course, you can either write them down from the values I have written down in the video, or you could even, if you have especially Windows 7, you can use the snippet feature of Windows 7 and make a image copy of it.